Science and religion are like oil and water. They just don't mix. You have to choose. You can either love God or you can love science. You can't love them both. Those are the kind of confusing things we often hear from skeptics. And it's simply not true. It's a false dichotomy. We don't have to choose between our faith and science. Let me share with you some reasons why. First, science is not a body of information that may or may not be compatible with Christianity. Science is a tool. As a tool, it cannot be any more in conflict with faith in God than a hammer or a wrench. In his book, Advice to a Young Scientist, the Nobel Prize-winning scientist Sir Peter Medawar simply defines science as all exploratory activities of which the purpose is to come to a better understanding of the natural world. Christians certainly can, and certainly have, used the tool of science to explore and better understand the natural world. This is in no way in conflict with Christian faith. Second, it's actually the Christian worldview that gave birth to the rise of the scientific method. A certain view of the world was necessary to offer the proper foundation for scientific inquiry. It wasn't the Eastern view of the world that all is one and all is God that gave rise to science. It wasn't the Greek view with many warring gods. It was the Judeo-Christian view of reality that provided a proper foundation for science. C.S. Lewis once commented, "Men became scientific because they expected law in nature. They expected law in nature because they believed in a legislator." In other words, scientists believed they could find and study physical laws in nature because the world was not an accident, but the product of a powerful mind. Nobel Prize-winning biochemist Melvin Calvin said, "The monotheistic view seems to be the historical foundation of science." Third, Christianity is able to explain far more than science. There's more to the world than just physical stuff. While Christianity is certainly big enough to fit in the physical explanation of the universe, meaning it's big enough for science, it's also big enough for all the stuff that science can't explain. Things like poetry, truth, beauty, morality, free will, and the like. Edgar Andrews, emeritus professor of materials at the University of London, said it well. The scientist's dream is to develop a theory of everything, a scientific theory that will encompass all the workings of the physical universe. Fair enough, but there is more to the universe than matter, energy, space, and time. A true theory of everything therefore must embrace both the material and the non-material aspects of the universe. And my contention is, he wrote, we already possess such a theory, namely the hypothesis of God. Fourth, the history of science is filled with great men and women of faith. From its inception until modern day, there have always been gifted scientists with devout faith in God. From people like Galileo in the 16th century to people in our day like Francis Collins, who holds what is arguably the highest scientific position in the nation as the head of the National Institutes of Health, a position he was appointed to by President Barack Obama. If science and faith are necessarily in conflict, why have there been so many great scientists who love God? Fifth, much of the conflict we hear about today isn't really between science as a tool and the Christian faith. It's about worldview commitments. Many contemporary scientists teaching at secular universities are atheistic. Obviously, atheism is incompatible with Christian faith, but atheism is itself not the result of scientific study. Rather, it's a commitment that some, in our day many, academic scientists bring to their science. Finally, as the Notre Dame University philosophy professor Alvin Plantinga points out, it's atheism, not Christianity, that's really in conflict with science. If the world was an accident, not designed or directed by God, then by extension everything in the world is an accident. If that's true, that means we're accidents, and our brain is an accident, and our thoughts are accidents. If that's the case, then science is pointless. After all, why should we trust our accidental thoughts about the accidental world that come from our accidental brain? That might sound like a gimmick, but it's a serious problem for scientists who reject God. In fact, the atheistic philosopher Thomas Nagel from NYU responded to this in his book Mind and Cosmos that he published with Oxford University Press in 2012. He concludes the book agreeing that if we are to trust our thoughts, there must be something more to the world than mindless matter. Atheism doesn't give a proper foundation for science. So is Christianity at odds with science? Absolutely not. Christianity is at odds with atheism, that much is clear. But I would suggest that it's atheism, not Christianity, that's incompatible with science.